Hello and welcome to Film Logic, a podcast about the movies of yesterday, today, and tomorrow with every fandom in between. I am with my beloved group. First, we have on the drums, Go Ninja Go, Adam.
Oh, that's me.
On on guitar, we have Perfect Drug, Vincent.
Without you, everything falls apart.
And on saxophone, we have saxophone guy from the Lost Boys, aka Ivy.
That's accurate.
And I'm your lyricist, Mike. How's everybody doing?
Good.
We're
Good.
here.
All
We
right.
live in.
Well, I want to jump into my scenario machine. Open up your imaginations for this. All right. And then we'll just jump right into what we're going to talk about. So, it's the year 2024. Gladiator 2 is about to hit theaters. You are psyched. But before you go into the film, you geek out about the soundtrack. Because as you read the tracks, you get excited more and more. Track 1, the Arctic Monkeys, with their song, Get That Roman Tiger. Track 2, Passion Pit, with Arena Fun. Track 3, Gwen Stefani, with Servant Girl for Your Gladiator Love. Track 4, Method Man, with Hal Caesar, Y'all. And track 5, The Crystal Method, working with Marilyn Manson, and their song, Thumbs Down. Your eyes hit the floor, and you wonder if there's any greater compilation of musical geniuses. Now, my question to you is, I'm going to say, why don't we have such amazing collaborations on movie soundtracks like this anymore? You can disagree with me, and I've heard some of you will, but I am not seeing these things.
Dude, I'm super bummed that that's not a real movie soundtrack.
I'd buy it.
I can hear the Arctic
Same.
Monkeys one now.
Yes.
That Roman tiger.
Are you not entertained?
Yeah. Now, a lot of you have different opinions on this, but I want to open up to a world where it felt like every Hollywood movie had a soundtrack that was advertised with it. And that soundtrack usually had Nine Inch Nails, Korn, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. I don't even know who that is, but he kept showing up on my albums. Flaming Lips. But now it seems like that's not synonymous with blockbuster movies anymore, unless that's part of the niche thing. Like the movies like all about the 80s, and they wanted to prove it with the soundtrack.
Right.
Yeah.
Like Stranger Things, vinyls.
Yeah. Your
Yeah, that's
thoughts,
fair.
ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I'm saying that's totally fair, and you ain't wrong with your sample lineup that you cited earlier. I mean, back when it was like if a movie looked somehow worse upon initial viewing of the teaser or the trailer, then diametrically opposed, the soundtrack was going to be that much more awesome. It was
Right.
like a scientific rule. I want to say like back in the 2000s, like after Y2K, that was pretty much the rule.
I believe it was spearheaded by Batman Forever and Batman
Oh, for
and Robin.
sure. Absolutely.
Whoever was in charge of that sparked a whole generation of getting amazing 90s bands together. I mean, no offense to the 80s. I'm sure the 80s had some wonderful soundtracks, as we'll find out from our guests. But, there was, I don't know, this beautiful trend where that Godzilla 2000 movie came out, right? No one wants to remember it in any positive light. That's understandable. But they got Ben Folds. They got Ben Folds 5. They got, love him or hate him, P. Diddy did
God,
something
Diddy.
I didn't say it.
with Jimmy Page. I heard Godzilla wants to distance himself from it. Understandable. Um, Rage Against the Machine was on there, and that was the norm. You know, if you didn't like the movie, it was 100% acceptable to just love the soundtrack.
Absolutely. And
I don't think it was.
don't forget, Foo Fighters had a great cover of Heroes on that
Right.
soundtrack.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And Green Day they did like a Godzilla remix of
Oh yeah.
Brain Stew.
That's right.
So this begs the question: where's the funding that gets all these bands together? I imagine it's a pricey thing to do.
I feel like partially it could have to do with like music streaming. And I'm not gonna like bash on music streaming because I don't think it's like a, bad thing. I don't want to sound like an angry person shaking their fist like back in my day we didn't have Spotify. Like I don't care. Like I use Spotify. But there was I guess like a draw maybe to just like have your, sell like a CD or a vinyl or a tape with just like a bunch of big bands on it and you can make your money back, with like this cool collaboration tape. And there's really no need for that now because it's all going to go to streaming anyway. But there are some exceptions. Like the Twisters movie had like a huge, collaboration soundtrack. So like it's starting to come back, I think, since like, like you can still buy CDs at Walmart, like vinyl you could buy at Walmart, So it could be like coming back now that there's more demand for more physical media.
Right. And who's to say I don't just make my own playlist, add
Right.
RZA, SZA, uh, Santana, Slayer, all those, and call it the Garfield movie soundtrack.
By that.
You can even add your own art. So
Yeah.
it's not hard to make your own soundtrack. People might question, like, I don't remember those songs in the movie, but you can just say it's the same vibes. Trust me.
Yeah. Inspired by.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
yeah.
sure, but I feel like you guys are missing the very obvious, like, forest for the trees here. Like, did we forget that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse exists? Like, like it had 2 chart-topping songs made specifically for the movie, like Sunflower and What's Up Danger, like that. Charted, and it was also in the top. It was in the Billboard Top like 200.
Mm-hmm.
It was number 2 on the Billboard Hot 200, and it was number 1 on the soundtrack Billboard. But it's not even just like this. The first Spider-Man movie is the other Spider-Man movie as well. Also, movies like Creed 3, their original soundtrack. They had music created for it specifically by like J. Cole and other artists, and that charted at 127 on the Billboard Top 200. So it's not like it's not happening anymore. If anything, it's like a better quality. Like we'll get into Mount Rushmore stuff later because I don't want to spoil too much. But even stuff like TV shows now have incredible soundtracks. Like the Fallout TV show has stuff in it that's original as well as like licensed music. So it's not like it's not happening. It's just I don't know, like I don't know, like what do you mean, Mike? By like it's just like you feel like it's not happening or what?
I feel like the trend
Or do you feel like the music that you listen to isn't like in these movies?
Well, yes, and
Mm,
uh, it's not as exciting to do '90s hits unless it's kind of like ironic or. And honestly, the Miss Marvel movie, that was all about the '90s. That could have totally won me over on the soundtrack, but they didn't. They didn't go full in on that. So
You
that's
mean Captain Marvel?
Captain Marvel. Yes, sorry,
Yeah.
Captain
Ms.
Marvel.
Marvel's the Disney Plus
Yeah,
series. It's an
Captain
important
Marvel.
distinction to make.
Yes.
But yes, I agree. And may I interject because I have a theory, a soundtrack theory that that the reason why um we're not we're not getting those kind of soundtracks these days is because the suits, they just want to put, all their money into getting whatever actors are going to create the most hype for the series. I
Right.
mean, I
Yeah.
would argue. And these days, it's fallen upon, I would say, mostly the nerdcore genre. The
Right.
the people who make fandom music, specifically, for their favorite genre, yeah, their favorite movies and TV shows, who aren't signed to big labels for the most part. I mean, Living Tombstone, JT
Hmm.
Music, CG5.
Right.
I mean, I guess like Universal maybe saw a little bit of that potential because when the Five Nights at Freddy's movie came out, they had, Living Tombstone's original Five Nights at Freddy's song on the soundtrack. And I mean,
Right.
like, they're pretty much like the Beatles of nerdcore. So
Right.
I would really love to see Hollywood go more toward embracing. Well, see, I'm kind of putting myself in a trap because if I say I wish I want to see that, they're gonna take it and they're gonna ruin it.
Right.
So I
You're gonna
I
get
don't
black.
know. I don't know what I want, but I know where I think some of the magic has migrated to.
Yeah.
But that's
I,
just a theory.
I guess for me, I guess I don't totally understand what you guys mean.
Well,
Like,
to answer your
yeah,
question, Adam, it still exists, as you have proven with your list. Like they're still doing it, but it's not. I think the thrill of everyone coming together is not as advertised, as not as hyped. It's
Yeah.
it's not like
The last time
and-
I remember that was like the Barbie movie. That was something that was part of like the advertising, was like all
yeah,
the original songs made for it, but like it's less common.
right. Like there might be one song that they really want to kind of get out there, but like back then, you got excited about the whole album. Like it was 10 tracks that could not fail. And that kind of excitement, I believe, is not connected to movies anymore because of how easy it is. We don't listen to albums anymore. We listen to playlists. We listen to singles because of how easy it is to stream. So I don't feel like the album as a soundtrack isn't marketable anymore. That's what I feel.
Mm, mm, good point. Good point.
Yeah. I don't know. Does that help at all?
I guess, but I also like I just don't agree. Like, you look at the Academy Award list for like this year, like between like Wicked, The Wild Robot, Amelia Perez, like they all had soundtracks that charted.
Okay. So we're talking about two different things, and I wanted to make that distinction. Um, me, okay, the songs. I wanted to like. There's like composers, right?
Sure.
Yeah,
And
you mean like the difference between like the soundtrack and the score, the
right.
orchestral score.
And sometimes both of them are so pushed together that it's hard to tell the difference. But
Mhm.
I correct me if I'm wrong. There feels like there's an era, a movie era, where after you make the movie or before you make the movie, you have to call up 12 different artists and ask them to come up with an awesome song. And
Mhm.
it didn't feel like it was part of like it wasn't trying to be like meshed into the movie perhaps per se. It was trying to like be a companion to the movie.
Right. It's like you don't
Mhm.
hear them all in the movie unless it's like the credits. It's just like something you hear on the CD,
Right.
the
For
experience.
for
Right. So
example,
like Soul with Nine Inch Nails.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's more like a score or a soundscape. Not really something that you'd, you know, g- put on your phone so you could, go running to. You know, you'd like I would put on the Downward Spiral to go out and run to
right.
that, but I wouldn't, not the Soul soundtrack. I mean, that's just for chilling.
I love how this is the most polarizing this show has ever been.
Yeah. I mean, I
We're
don't know.
just getting so heated.
A-
I don't know.
Adam,
Like, no,
I
we
just
mean
I
those
just
soundtracks.
no. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I just don't
y-
agree.
your your ability to find these soundtracks in the modern now is satisfying you, and it's making us jealous. Okay,
I guess, but these are like Academy Award winning movies, like like Joker or like La La Land. They like all use
okay.
artists and stuff like in their stuff, like The Social Network. Like these are all movies that came out in the last 10 years with like mainstream, like marketable music, like you guys are
Yes,
talking about. It's just music that's different than stuff from the '90s.
I think the clear distinction is Social Network asking Trent Reznor, go to town with our whole soundtrack, versus okay, we have this Batman movie. Go help me find 12 of the most coolest bands to show them what they think Batman is about.
No, well, half the time I don't think the bands really understand the assignment all that well
Right.
because like most often in those cases, like they'll either pull one of their B-sides,
True.
something from the recording vault, or they'll like record a cover of something, which is fine. Which is fine. I got lots of love for covers,
Hmm.
you know. That's kind of I feel like that's kind of how the process went back in that time.
Yeah.
But it worked. It worked because I mean, it's kind of what took us in the direction of, listening to playlists more so than just albums.
Hmm. Yeah. And what I think correct me if I'm wrong, Adam,
Sure.
you're kind of thinking of what like Kill Bill did with their soundtrack. They kind of meshed their score with their artists. So it's hard to tell, which one is them just as a band presenting a song and which one is making it exclusively for the movie. And I think that's what we see a lot more of and it makes sense because the director he wants a vibe to go with it, you know. Unless you're James Gunn doing Guardians of the Galaxy, then you hit, you know, random on the 80s playlist. But most of them are like, I want this kind of feel. I want this, you know, this organic feeling to go with it.
So what you're saying is you're like looking for music that was made specifically for the movie, right?
Yep. Actually, kind of the opposite. Like, this is where I go totally corporate. Like, I'm looking for the corporate, like, let's find 10 bands that we really like They don't have to go with the flow of our movie. They just have
Right.
to make a hit song, and people should just feel lucky that we got these guys together. We
So
don't have that anymore.
so not like what they did for Spider-Man.
Which Spider-Man? The-
Any of them, but specifically like the Spider-Verse movies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, originally Spider-Man in the 2000s, you had Dashboard Confessional, right?
Hmm.
And
And
that
they made that
song,
song specifically for the movie, right?
exactly. And that's great. Like you'll always find that on the soundtrack, but then in between those tracks, you'll find, I don't know, um, you'll find brand news like B-side or
Sure. But like what I'm also saying is that like stuff like The Social Network, they
Mhm.
took songs from like the White Stripes and the Beatles and like non-original stuff too, and like just threw it in the movie. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and I think that fits the bill. So I think we are talking about the same thing because
Right.
that's exactly what I'm looking for.
Right.
My thing is it's not as advertised. It's not as commercialized. And maybe
Sure.
that's a good thing now that it's organic.
Even though it won an Academy Award for it, like I can't think of anything more corporate than that, right? Like you're winning like you're winning an award from like people in your field, right? Like that's the whole point.
Right.
And it's charting. I just like for me, I think it's gotten like better in the last 15 years because it's like when you think of movies like the A Knight's Tale, right?
Right.
I feel like that's the perfect example for what you guys are talking about, right? Where they like just take
Right.
these random 2000 songs and then license them and then stick them in while they're jousting, right?
Right.
But instead, I think now in the last like 10, 15 years, these studios are now taking these songs and like weaving them more um into the film, and it's becoming a part of the film. Like you think of like Baby Driver, right? Like the soundtrack to that movie is like part and parcel with what you're watching, right? You can't enjoy the
Right.
movie without that
Absolutely.
soundtrack.
Right.
So it's still like I think it's still happening, but
Mhm.
it's like yeah, like it just is I think a little
Mhm.
it's a little bit more slim. It's whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. We absolutely agree that the studios are doing smarter decisions. Does anyone disagree on that?
Oh, you're not wrong.
Yeah. What I'm missing the most is the expectation that Hollywood movies would have like this mini party of well-known bands stuffed onto a CD.
Right.
As it's kind of like here's a reward for letting us make the movie. You know.
And then like the big name band does a premiere party like
Mhm.
with a rooftop concert, in
Right.
Hollywood. Yeah, that
Like
doesn't happen anymore.
like when Limp Bizkit made the Mission Impossible 2 theme song.
Okay, poor example, but I got you.
Yeah, I mean, that was the spirit of it. It wasn't enjoyable, but
Mm.
it it lived up to what it always was.
So I mean, maybe is it that you guys are mourning the loss of bad movie soundtracks? Is that what I?
No, we're mourning the loss of good movie soundtracks made for bad movies.
True and true. There's the thing is there's potential. There's
Mm.
potential. there's potential that I could call up the Beatles, the Monkees, the Rolling Stones, and get them all to agree to make songs for my movie and have it very little to do with my movie.
Mm.
Right.
Has everyone lived up to that potential? No, absolutely not.
Mm.
But you know who has lived up to that potential? Shrek. That band they killed it with their soundtrack.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess in summation, I guess what I'm feeling is on like either side of the coin. Like if for in terms of like music that's made by popular artists, made specifically for movies, I think you
Mm-hmm.
find stuff like in Across the Spider-Verse. I think that's. I mean, I think that's been done really at a really high level, and then or stuff like, oh hey, we're making like a like a mixtape, a la Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's also pretty prevalent. And
Mm-hmm.
then, but then even just like, um, just stuff on sheer vibes, like the Fallout show, like they're just
Mm-hmm.
like, here's just vibes. Um, so yeah, I mean, I do think that it's like I think for me it's become like almost a prerequisite, right? For movies to have like if it's not scored by like, Hans Zimmer and
Right.
um then it has to have just like a banging soundtrack.
Right. I get a
Well, I mean,
little. I
Hans
get a
Zimmer
little.
kind of set the bar high with Top Gun.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. And I get a little disappointed when the music is done by a first name, last name, as opposed to like Crystal Method or, music done by OK Go. Okay, that's a poor example. I don't like their music, but that's the first band that came up. Now,
You're like, I miss when movies had good soundtracks, and you name a bunch of bands that suck.
yes.
Right. Right. Like or like not to keep going back to Spider-Man, but like like Sunflower, made by Post Malone, um charted as a single, but also as part of like that album, right?
Right. Another great thing to mention is usually the album would come out before the movie. Like Beavis and Butthead Do America had, Rob Zombie, Butthole Surfers, um, Ozzy Osbourne. And
Mm.
so you got to hear those songs for the first time. And then when you saw the movie, when the song actually made it into the film, you instantly liked that scene, no matter what it was, because you knew it was coming. It rewarded you.
yeah, for sure. That is a great example, by the way. And I should note that that album has the only Red Hot Chili Peppers song that I like really dig and jam out to, and it's not even an original.
No,
It's, Love Roller Coaster.
they covered the heck out of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they did.
So I, for one, love diving into the history of the soundtracks and how they correlated with the movie. But I want to get to a trivia game. I'm skipping over a question because we had such a great talk on this. Is anyone disappointed that I'm skipping over that question?
No.
No.
Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to name 3 songs and with their band, and you have to tell me what movie featured those 3 songs.
Ooh.
So, first
Hmm.
song, Bird Brain by Youth of America, Drop Dead Gorgeous by Republica, Red Right Hand by Sister Machine Gun. Okay, does anyone want to guess what it could be, or do you need me to do the multiple choice?
I've
I have
never
no
even heard of
idea.
any of those bands.
I just I just know that Red Right Hand is, I'm pretty sure it's a Nick Cave song, but no, that's not Nick Cave. So yeah, I got nothing, man.
So, most people know Red Right Hand for Dumb and Dumber and Hellboy. Hellboy, who literally had a red right hand. But it was used in this movie. Do you think it's Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer, or Urban Legend?
I would venture a guess and say Scream.
I know it's not Scream.
Ooh.
That's the only one that I'm pretty sure that's not Scream.
Adam, tiebreaker.
I'll not Scream.
Well, and unless Spotify is lying to me, it is Scream, and it very well could be lying to me. But the title of said playlist was Scream soundtrack. So do with that what you will.
I'm skeptical. I'm Googling this now.
Okay. You know, someone could have made a fan playlist.
Yeah.
Definitely in the realm of possibilities. But
What
this
was
one,
one of the Sister Machine Gun? We'll just Google that.
Yep.
The Machine Gun.
So the next one is Counting Crows, Accidentally in Love, Frau Frau, Holding Out for a Hero, and the Eels, I Need Some Sleep. Is it, anyone want to take a guess?
I fear it's a Shrek entry.
Yes. Is it the first one or the third one?
Hang on. I thought the Frau Holding Out for a Hero. I want to say that's the second Shrek movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd concur with the second Shrek movie.
You are, you know what? It's like golf where you just have to get close to the hole. It is Shrek. Name of the playlist was just Shrek, so maybe they slipped in a Holding Out for a Hero.
Also, the Scream playlist is correct.
Okay, good.
I've only seen it once, and it was like a few years ago, so I guess I really wouldn't know.
Yes. Okay, this next one is just like, you're never going to guess it unless I give you the three choices. So, Goo Goo Dolls, Lazy Eye, Jewel, Foolish Games, Moloko, Fun for Me. Is it Batman Returns, Batman and Robin, or Steel?
Goo Goo Dolls seems like that's a little too late for Batman Returns. I could be wrong because I heard that they had a completely different sound before they quote unquote sold out. I would I'm gonna guess Batman and Robin.
Do you concur?
Sure.
All right. Such confidence. It is Batman and Robin. You didn't fall for the movie Steel starring Shaq. One of the best DC movies ever. Fight me. Oh. Next soundtrack is Santa Esmeralda, Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood, The RZA, Yakuza Orin 1, and Johnny Cash, Satisfied Mind. Is it Desperado, Once Upon a Time in Mexico, or Kill Bill Volume 1?
It's not Desperado because RZA seems too late for that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Kill Bill.
See, it could be because the Santa Esmeralda that might be a red herring for Once Upon a Time in Mexico.
Mm-hmm. And notice I didn't say Ricky Martin.
True. Or Juno Reactor.
Yep. Well, it is Kill Bill Volume 1.
Oh,
I hope
nice
you're-
call.
I hope you're keeping score. There's a prize at the end. All right, this next one is wild, and I don't expect anyone to guess it. The band Barnetta with Hey Eddie. The band Magic Wandos with My Panties. And the band Gresha Godless, If I Was Your Vampire. Is it New Moon, Vampires Suck, or Lost Boys 2?
I'm gonna say Lost Boys 2 just because I've never seen it and it sounds like something stupid that would be in it.
There was a Lost Boys 2?
There's 3 of them.
Oh, dear.
All right, do you concur?
Yeah, I got nothing.
Okay.
Yeah, they seem.
It's the
Never Rosie's
class.
got-
It's the classical comedy Vampires Suck.
Oh.
A stupid movie with the weirdest soundtrack. You think they would have gotten Vampire Weekend, but no.
Yeah, it would have been too on the nose.
Yep. All right. Next one is Howard Jones, Things Can Only Get Better, Haley Steinfeld's Back to Life, and Duran Duran's Save a Prayer. Is
I'm
it?
99% sure this is Bumblebee.
I don't even have to go through. Is it Through the Spider-Verse? Is it Transformers 1? Is it Bumblebee?
ABC seems pretty confident that it's
Yep.
Bumblebee, so yeah.
Right. Great soundtrack, by the way. Next one is Aerosmith's I Don't Want to Miss a Thing, Our Lady Peace, Starseed, Bob Seger, Roll Me Away.
Is this Armageddon?
Oh,
Yeah, everyone knows this.
yes. If you don't know this, you've been living like on a literal asteroid in space.
It's everyone whose life ever touched the 90s knows this. Yeah. So, you guys did great. I think you nailed it. All right, who was the winner? Ivy, maybe?
I'd give it to Ivy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. I'll accept it.
You win a mixtape,
Yes!
cassette of
Does
my
it have
singing.
Limp Bizkit?
It'll have Limp Bizkit on
Oh.
side 1. And side 2, it'll have Smash Mouth.
Oh, yay! And
Didn't
My Panties, or whatever that song was.
Yeah, that'll be just every other track. I mean, weren't you the one who said that Smash Mouth was like the Beatles of the 90s?
Me?
I'm pretty sure you said that.
I don't think I said that.
All right. Now this is where you guys can shine. Your Mount Rushmore of soundtracks. Now, as I specified in the rules, we can't do anything score-ish like Hans Zimmer. That guy I can't remember that always works with Tim Burton.
Danny Elfman.
Danny Elfman, yes. I was like, Danny Deadman. No. Dead Elf. No. Okay. Danny Elfman. Well-known bands being hired to make a soundtrack. Vincent, do you want to go first?
I would like to go first. Now, for me, I chose to focus my Mount Rushmore on the mid to late 90s, because to me this was the peak of when soundtracks were being crafted for this specific purpose. You know, to get the most buzzworthy musicians to come in and provide some tunes for Hollywood's next big movie. So I'm going to start it off with the one that started all of the the bad movie, good soundtrack album trends with The Crow from 1994, which featured such gems as The Cure's original song Burn, Stone Temple Pilots' Big Empty, Nine Inch Nails with a cover of Joy Division's Dead Souls, Helmet with Milk Toast, and Pantera with Poison Idea cover The Badge.
Ah, great. You can go
Nice.
right down the list.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Following that up, I got Empire Records from 1995, which is a complete love letter to grunge alternative music.
Mm.
And my standouts include Gin Blossoms, Till I Hear It From You, Cranberries with Liar, Edwyn Collins, A Girl Like You, which until I actually looked up this soundtrack, I thought it was like a Chris Isaak song. Like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but it gave me Chris Isaak vibes at first.
Oh.
And then just a couple of others, Better Than Ezra, Circle of Friends, and Cracker, A Whole Lot of Trouble. And then to tie back to our show from 2 weeks ago, I've got the Lost Highway soundtrack, which does include a little bit of soundscaping from Trent Reznor, but you've got I'm Deranged, both the edits, by David Bowie, The Perfect Drug by Nine Inch Nails, Smashing Pumpkins with Lou Reed with his unique and just, very Lou Reed like cover of This Magic Moment, and Marilyn Manson with their double shot of Apple of Sodom and I Put a Spell on You. And then finally, I've got the Dracula 2000 soundtrack, which, is from 2000. This is where, we're leaving the arena of alternative and going into the territory of new metal. My standout tracks include Powerman 5000, Ultra Mega, Disturbed with A Welcome Burden, System of a Down with a cover of Berlin's The Metro, Linkin Park with One Step Closer, Pantera with Avoid the Light, and Static X with Otzigo Undead.
Right. Just looking at this mid to late 90s, you would have to burn so many megabits on LimeWire to get half of these bands.
And I did.
Yes. You kids don't know how good you have it.
Back in my day, we would scour LimeWire in the Napster to get our mixtapes going.
I spent 3 hours on ShareBear. All right. Ivy, are you ready?
So I was busy and forgetful all week, so I just put mine in very hastily today. So I'm sure if I put more thought into it, I would have a much more comprehensive, like actual, not stupid list. But this is what I came up with in the moment. So we have The Howling 2, which consists of one band called Babel that did like 3 songs or 4 songs, and they just keep playing the same songs over and over. It's very funny because they just keep cutting back to like this, new wave punk club, and they're just playing, and it just keeps cutting back to that at different points during the movie. But the songs are really good, and it's something I'd like to have, a vinyl of at some point, because it's just really, they have a good, new wave sound. So Howling 2 on Mount Rushmore, just put that there. Then I guess Last Action Hero, that has a lot of the thing, we discussed with like random bands being put on with like half the songs don't match the movie. You got Def Leppard on there with like a sad love song, nothing to do with the movie. AC/DC, and like some of them did match the movie. I think. Hang on, let me Google it, because again, I did this very hastily, so I don't even remember.
Oh, that's a good pick. That's a good pick.
Who else we got?
I think there's an Alice in Chains song on there that I like.
Alice in Chains, Queensryche, Anthrax, Tesla. Yeah, there's several, some good stuff on there. So I put that one on there. Then probably Fright Night, that has a lot of good songs on it. Weirdly, because, usually in the 80s horror soundtracks, there's like a theme song, and those get put on like the compilations of like, 80s horror soundtracks. But Jay Giles Band did a song called Fright Night and a whole video for it. And you can't find it on Spotify anywhere. It's not like talked about. It's on no Halloween, song compilations. It's just like really obscure for no reason. And it's a fun song. So I put that one on there. There's several songs on there that are really good though. So there's 3, and I got to pick one more. The next 3 I can pick from, I'll just tell you. Nacho Libre, Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, or Trick or Treat.
Do we get to vote? Is this an interactive thing? Oh.
It's whatever the most sane choice is, you think. Because Narnia, again, did the thing where like there's a CD that comes out and half the songs are just like in the spirit of. Right. There's a really great Alanis Morissette song called Wonderkind. And again, it's not on Spotify. You can't find it anywhere, but it's like a ridiculously good song. Who else?
It is. It really is. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. I heard it on YouTube and I was like, why is this not like talked about? That's ridiculous. Oh yeah. I'm remembering it all now. I like how you have like really comprehensive lists and I'm just like, wait, what was on here again? I don't remember.
I thought you were going to do DuckTales. We talked about that.
DuckTales and Lost Boys saxophone guy, of course.
Yes.
I have the Narnia CD, actually.
Oh, burn it. Put it on Spotify.
Literally.
Yes.
What is that other song that I... My mind's doing that thing where I know who it is, but I'm blanking.
Oh, no.
It's that one... Oh, hang on. Imogen Heap. She has a song on it that's really good. Yeah. Yeah. It's just a very, like, whimsical, like, ethereal, magical soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'll go with that one for number 4.
Nice.
That's great. That's my hastily done Mount Rushmore.
All right. Adam, did you burn all yours in the discussion? Or is there...
No, I didn't talk about any except Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
So I mean, obviously the Spider-Man 2 soundtrack, the 2004. We talked a little bit about the single there, "Vindicated" by Dashboard Confessional. One of the top, maybe 20, emo pop punk songs of all time. But like that soundtrack also contains stuff by Train and Hoobastank, Maroon 5, Yellow Card. Even stuff, shouts out to Lost Prophets. So yeah, I mean, just a yeah, just an incredible soundtrack. Um, although the UK version of the soundtrack got switched what's meant to live. So I mean, who really won here? Not us, because we didn't get meant to live on our Spider-Man 2 soundtrack. Next up, Black Panther, the first one. Incredible, incredible music on that. The score itself, I know we weren't talking about like musical stuff, but Ludwig Göransson, who's incredible, did great stuff with that, the original music on that. But
Yeah,
just
great
the stuff in
composer.
there, but the stuff on there from Kendrick Lamar and Baby Keem and Doc McKinney and tons and tons of others that I'm totally gonna forget. But yeah, just an awesome soundtrack. And yeah, I love that there's a curated soundtrack beyond the just the official one that was made by Kendrick Lamar. And it is very, very awesome. And definitely a highlight of that movie. The next one that I feel like was a real like this. It feels like this whole movie was an experiment. Tron Legacy. We're getting Tron Ares a little bit later this year.
Yes.
Just the visuals, the yeah, down to the music. It just felt like everything was an experiment. And this really does feel like the first time that a singular band like Daft Punk was just given total free reign and like $50 million to just make the soundtrack. It's sick. Everybody knows the song Derezzed. You know it instantly. And it's just so iconic, and it's hard to. It's another one of those soundtracks where you just can't separate it from the movie itself. And last but certainly not least, and see, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I had to include the Tarzan soundtrack. I feel
Oh
like
yeah.
I feel like
No,
it
that's fair.
totally
100%.
Yeah.
I feel like it totally applies here. I mean there's a single on there that like has NSYNC on it, but like obviously it being just composed and like the soundtrack like made out by Phil Collins, perhaps like the greatest 80s into the 90s like pop artist of all time. And definitely like one of the most underrated pop artists of all time. Yeah, Phil Collins goes in on this. And I mean, yeah, tears every time in the yeah, you can just feel, you just feel it. You just feel the Phil Collins throughout.
But can you
And
feel the love tonight, Adam? Because Sir
you
Elton
certainly
John
can.
does not think you can.
So yeah, those are my four. I would also just shout out a couple. I mean, some that we talked about, Into the Spider-Verse, Baby Driver, Jojo Rabbit too has an awesome like crazy soundtrack, which is really random. There's they use some songs from the Beatles. They use like a German version of "I Want to Hold Your Hand." There's like Cuban music in it. There's some stuff from Ella Fitzgerald and Tom Waits. There's even a song by David Bowie, "Held so yeah, Jojo Rabbit, awesome movie. Taika Waititi is masterful in it, and he uses music in that. Really, really awesome. And super random too. You're like, oh, you're just enjoying, you're enjoying, the Nazi Reich, and then suddenly you're like, oh, is that Tom Waits? I don't want to grow up, and it is. um,
I use the word enjoying with Nazi Rick.
and
It's a very delicate juxtaposition, to be sure.
very true. I definitely did mean that sarcastically. And then yeah, so yeah, those are my noms there.
Great,
Nice.
great. And I'll close it out. Adams was smart, and their soundtracks actually won awards. I'm pretty sure mine didn't, but I love them anyways. So here we go. The Spawn soundtrack, where I learned that movies can ask bands to work together to make awesome, unique songs. And I loved every second of it. Spawn as a movie hasn't aged well, but man, this album is amazing. It has Crystal Method and Filter, Trip Like I Do. Marilyn Manson works with Sneaker Pimps. Long Hard Road Out of Hell. Yeah, my youth group did not like this album, but I thought it was creative that they worked together. Korn and Dust Brothers Kick the PA. And you were bringing some up too, Vincent. You DJ Spooky's remix of Metallica's "For Whom the Bell Tolls" also great.
It goes so hard.
Up and down, with a few exceptions where that there's this one metal band just yells Satan for 3 minutes. But everyone else does a notable idea. Great.
Oh, that's I know which one that is. That's the collab with Orbital, the techno band, and Kirk Hammett, who incidentally is the lead guitarist from Metallica.
Right.
Like the two of them work together. Like apparently, I guess Kirk just like went into the studio, heard a demo of Orbital's song, laid down some riffs, and I mean the singular lyric is a little annoying, but the guitar work, peak.
Yeah.
Kirk Hammett is a guitar god.
Music A+, lyrics F+. Yeah. Next on the list is Romeo and Juliet, the modernized version in the late 90s.
So not Nomeo and Juliet.
Not Romeo and Juliet.
Okay.
No, the Leo DiCaprio one.
Yes, the Leo DiCaprio. I think
Range
it was
era Romeo and Juliet.
pre-boat.
Is it?
Is Romeo and Juliet pre-Titanic?
I
think it is.
It feels like it.
Continue on. I'll find out.
All right. So Romeo and Juliet has a song made from Garbage. Garbage sings "Number One Crush." That was on the radio. Cardigans does their "Love Fool" song. This is the soundtrack that kind of made them famous. Sixpence None the Richer had the "Kiss Me" song on it, and there was an Everclear song. So
that's right.
A lot of bangers on this one, and a lot of like bands I had no idea existed, and I'm like, hey, these guys don't sound so bad. So, the next one is a personal favorite of mine. There was there's this director that makes like skateboard videos and puts like Christian rock and punk music to it. And one day he made a movie called Extreme Days. And I got this movie back when Wegmans let you rent movies, to date myself. And I fell in love with the soundtrack because I kind of grew up with this music during youth group years. It has Toby Mac, Extreme Days, Stave Saker, Keep Waiting, POD, Selah, other, I would go on, but I don't want to make you guys jealous. It's just Extreme Days, amazing soundtrack.
Mm.
And finally, my first soundtrack. This is like around one of the first CDs I've ever got. Everything was, well, actually, no. This was still the cassette era. So on side one of Batman Forever, you have U2, Kiss Me, Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kill Me. I think I got that in the right order, I hope. You got Seal's Kiss from a Rose. Other bands include Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, the Flaming Lips. This has such powerful memories because I'd never associated Batman with like grunge music and like alternative adult music.
Right.
And how in the world did you get U2 to agree to do a Batman song?
Money.
Money.
And this song would later be parodied by, oh gosh, guy who parodies all the songs.
Weird Al.
Weird
You
Al.
got that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Weird Al thought this song was worthy. And so Batman Forever, like, it feels like a diamond in the rough. Like it shouldn't exist. Like it's left over from a different timeline.
I believe the Weird Al parody interpretation was dentist themed.
Yes,
It
it was.
was numb
Drill
me,
me.
drill me, floss me, bill me.
Yes.
In all my years of listening to Weird Al, I've never heard that one.
Oh
that's
my gosh.
that's a good one.
I'm
If you-
ashamed.
Bad
If
hair
you
day.
love Batman and U2 and Weird Al, your ship has sailed.
I like Weird Al, so
Incredible. So update on the Romeo Juliet Titanic front. It's Romeo and Juliet came out almost a year to the day before Titanic.
Oh wow.
Yeah, DiCaprio was bussing back then.
Oh,
Everyone
silly.
wanted him.
he was so hot, like so dreamy.
So dreamy. I also now that you guys mentioned Weird Al, it reminded me of a couple others I wanted to throw into my honorable mentions, but I didn't want to eat up time. But the Weird Al fake biopic movie has Weird Al covering his own songs, but like parodying his like own songs almost. So
Oh my
shouts
gosh, I
out to
love
that.
that.
Shouts out to that. And then I also can't believe I forgot about this. Moulin Rouge has an incredible soundtrack.
Yeah, that was an experiment. I mean, because, well, I mean, Mike, you mentioned you've got Romeo and Juliet on your list. That's a pretty typical Hollywood soundtrack offering. But for Baz Luhrmann to go, into Moulin Rouge and to just make this strange, like almost Broadway like mashup alternative techno, just what even is it? Like,
Well, I
I
mean,
struggle
to
to
give
define it.
to give you a picture, the big song in it is Nature Boy, originally sung by famous, jazz singer Nat King Cole, which is covered by David Bowie, but then remixed by band Massive Attack.
As it should.
But then
There's
also,
just massive layers going on here.
right? But then it also features music from The Sound of Music and Fatboy Slim and Madonna and Nirvana and Queen and more Madonna and Elton John, and it's I definitely got to shout out Moulin Rouge.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Incredible.
Nicole Kidman and Ewan McGregor have like the whole medley of of like the one song. It's like a medley of it's like a Broadway
Right.
inspired. Like you got Kiss, you got Elton John, you've got Paul McCartney in that one song. Just so much. I can't even remember it all. I'm trying to pull up the lyrics in my brain. Yeah, that whole soundtrack was really something.
Mm-hmm.
And it was real whiplash because I was like, why is Obi-Wan in this?
And Catwoman.
And Catwoman. But was she Catwoman yet?
Well, Batman Returns Catwoman.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Not Holly
The girl
Berry.
from 5 Mile Creek.
Yeah. They really need to make Moulin Rouge too.
Well, I mean, Hollywood has the high ground, so
Mm-hmm.
Man,
Well, anyways, I think we did the topic justice.
I'd like to think so.
I like to think so.
And I think this is the first episode where we didn't talk about any plot within any movie, which is
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know,
because
that
what do
other
these soundtracks have to do with the plot? Absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
absolutely nothing. It's like the roller coasters that are based on movies. Nothing to do with the plot.
Exactly.
Man of Steel ride. Okay. No? Okay. Yeah. And there's another great group that talks about movies on the Retrologic Network. And I'm just going to rep them real quick. A Retro Groove podcast. So check those guys out if you
Oh.
liked our movie talk.
Yeah, they do music.
Yeah, if
Right?
you want movie
movies.
talk, don't
Yeah.
listen to them. If you want music talk, please listen to them.
I mean, they
Yeah,
I'm sure this
music stinky, movies good.
Yes.
I'm sure there's some crossover, but
You really have
Hey.
to trick them.
You never know. You never know.
They'll never let you plug their podcast again.
They're like, we lost listeners after you said that.
people were upset that we weren't talking about movies.
Yeah. We got hate mail.
Yes. Well, anyways, join us next week as we talk about a Tubi exclusive movie called
Yeah.
Don't Mess with Grandma, which
Oh my gosh.
might be the world's greatest movie. You'll have to
But-
tune in to find out.
Well, that's
It's
just
certainly
good
better than
advice.
Dragon Ball.
Yes. Anyways, if thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of our faithful few. I've been Mike.
Adam.
Then
Ivy.
And thank you for listening to Film Logic.